What if time is not a straight line, but a door someone once opened? In 1941, a photograph from a Canadian bridge captures a figure dressed as if he escaped from our century. In 1950, a New York street becomes the scene of a tragedy when a man in 19th century clothing collides with a 20th century car. In 2000, internet forums meet a visitor from the year 2036, a world of wars and ruin. And in 2003, Wall Street trembles with rumors of a trader who made a fortune in seconds because he knew the future, from the year 2256. These stories echo from another dimension where past, present, and future are intertwined. Who are they? Guests from other eras, masters of deception, or ghosts of our own time? Today, we embark on a journey through the ages to uncover the secrets of those who may have outsmarted time itself. From old photographs to digital traces, every clue brings us closer to the answer. Is this reality, or an illusion born from our thirst for miracles? November 1941. A small Canadian town, Gold Bridge, British Columbia. A crowd of locals gathers for the grand reopening of the Sayford Bridge, rebuilt after a devastating flood the year before. Someone in the crowd snaps a photo. The image captures men in formal suits and fedora hats, women in modest dresses, a typical scene from the early 1940s. Decades later, this very photograph would become the center of heated debates and mysteries. In the middle of the frame stands one man, a young guy whose clothes and demeanor stand out so sharply that he looks as if he fell out of another time. The photo first became public in 2004 when the Lorne Pioneer Museum included it in their exhibition, Their Past Lives Here, supported by the Virtual Museum of Canada. It remained just a historical artifact until 2010, when it was digitized and uploaded to the internet. That's when users noticed him, the man from the future. At first glance, he looked like an alien from the 21st century. Dark sunglasses, a t-shirt with a logo, a compact camera in his hands. Everyone around him was dressed in strict 1940s fashion, suits, hats, long coats. The internet exploded with theories. Was this a time traveler accidentally caught on camera? Rumors snowballed. Some called him a hipster. Others declared it real proof that time machines exist. Sites like Above Top Secret and Coast to Coast AM ran headlines, "Time traveler photographed in 1941. Forums filled with discussions. People pointed at his sunglasses, his printed t-shirt, supposedly non-existent in the 1940s, and the tiny camera, impossible for that era. It looked like the perfect case for conspiracy lovers. But soon researchers and skeptics got to work. They examined every detail of the mysterious man's clothing and accessories. The sunglasses? Models with side protection existed as early as the 1920s, not popular but sold. The t-shirt with the logo? Closer inspection revealed it was most likely a sweater with a sewn-on emblem from a sports team of the era, possibly the Montreal Maroons hockey team, 1924 to 1938. The camera? Kodak had been producing portable models like the Kodak 35 and folding pocket since the early 20th century, perfectly possible for a photography enthusiast in 1941. Historians noted that while the man's clothes seemed unusually casual for the event, they were not impossible for the 1940s. After World War II, veterans often wore t-shirts as everyday wear, and in rural areas like Gold Bridge, people dressed more simply than in cities. His style could simply be an eccentric choice, not an anomaly. So who was he, a time traveler or just a fashion-forward guy ahead of his time? The staged photo theory was also considered, maybe an actor or participant in a local event. But no evidence was ever found. Snopes, the famous myth-busting site, delivered the final verdict. Everything he wore and held existed in 1941. No miracle. No time machine, just a man who stood out in the crowd. Yet the story refused to die. It became an urban legend, a perfect example of how the internet can breathe new life into an old photograph. In 2011, at a conference in Philadelphia, the case was even discussed as a viral marketing phenomenon for the Lorne Pioneer Museum. Their website crashed from traffic, and a quiet exhibition turned into a worldwide sensation. Today, looking at this photo, some see a hint at the secrets of the universe. Others see a reminder of how easily we can fool ourselves, searching for the impossible where it doesn't exist. But one thing is certain. This man in sunglasses and modern clothes remains a mystery that everyone interprets in their own way. New York, June 1950. Times Square is alive with honking cars and flashing neon signs. Crowds rush about their business. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a man appears. His clothing, a frock coat, waistcoat, tall hat, looks as if it was cut from a 19th century engraving. He looks bewildered. Before he can understand what is happening, the screech of brakes tears through the city noise. A car strikes him dead. Police arrive and begin one of the strangest investigations of the 20th century. His name is Rudolph Fentz. It seems he just stepped through 74 years of time. On his body, they find items that puzzle even experienced detectives. Copper coins dated 1876. A business card with an address on Fifth Avenue and the name Rudolph Fentz. A letter addressed to him with a 1876 postmark. $70 in old banknotes long out of circulation. No traces of modern life, no plastic, no car keys, no 20th century documents. One officer notes, "He looks like he came straight from the past." Rumors spread like wildfire. This man accidentally fell out of 1876 straight into 1950. The investigation takes an even stranger turn. Captain Hubert Rim, supposedly in charge of the case, digs deeper. He checks old archives and finds a record. Rudolph Fentz, a bank clerk, really did disappear in New York in 1876 at the age of 29. His family never knew where he went. He simply left home and never returned. Now, decades later, he appears on Times Square, still young, wearing the exact same clothes he was last seen in. His widow had long since died, but in the 1939 phone book, a certain Rudolph Fentz Jr. is found. The trail leads to a woman who confirms. Her father-in-law vanished without a trace in 1876. Everything matches. The incredible story begins to grow with details and soon spreads around the world. Is this not proof of time travel? But wait, the more people examined the foundation, the more it crumbled. In the 1970s, paranormal researchers began checking the facts. First blow. No records of Captain Hubert Rim exist in New York archives. Not a single mention of such a policeman. Second blow. 1,950 newspapers contain not one word about a mysterious accident on Times Square. Third blow. The name Rudolph Fentz appears in no real missing persons list for 1876. Everything that supposedly confirmed the story turned out to be fiction. The literary trail was noticed. In 1951, the magazine Cavalcade published a short story by Jack Finney titled, "I'm Scared." It described an almost identical case. A man in 19th century clothes appears in 1950s New York, is hit by a car, and is found with old coins, a letter, and a business card. Finney, famous for time travel stories like the novel Between Two Times, created this plot as pure fiction. But how did the story become real? In 1972, science fiction writer Ralph Holland retold it in the magazine Fate as an allegedly true incident, removing all references to Finney. From there, it migrated into paranormal books such as Strange Things of Our Time by William Corliss and began living its own life. The internet only poured fuel on the fire. In the 1990s and 2000s, forums and sites like Above Top Secret discussed Rudolph Fentz as undeniable fact. Some even claimed they had seen proof in old newspapers, though no one ever produced them. In 2007, German journalist Paul Zadra finally debunked the myth after studying the primary sources. It was pure invention grown from Finney's story. Even the name Rudolph Fentz was not accidental. A man with a similar name really lived in New York in 1876, but he never disappeared and died of natural causes many years later. November 2000. On a little-known internet forum called Time Travel Institute, a new user appears. His name is John Titor. He claims something unbelievable. He is a time traveler from the year 2036, using a time machine built into a 1987 Chevrolet Corvette. His mission is to retrieve an old IBM computer from 1975 needed to debug programs in the future, and, while he's at it, to tell people at the beginning of the 21st century what awaits them. In an era when the internet was still young and full of mysteries, his words sounded like thunder on a clear day. Forums exploded with discussions. Who is this man and can he be believed? John Titor was no random fantasist. He wrote in detail and with confidence, as if he really knew what he was talking about. In his posts, he described his time travel device, a 204 gravity distortion unit created by General Electric in the future. He even posted diagrams and photos of the strange metal box with buttons installed in the car, plus operating instructions printed on paper with the General Electric logo. Titor claimed the device creates microsingularities, tiny black holes that bend spacetime and allow travel between eras. His style was dry, technical, almost scientific, which only fueled the interest. Then he began predicting the future. First, he described his own era, 2036. According to him, the United States had survived a second civil war from 2004 to 2015, triggered by disputes over rights and freedoms after the 2004 elections. The conflict split the country into 5 regions and Washington was destroyed. In 2017, Titor claimed, Russia launched a nuclear strike on America, Europe, and China, killing millions. The world of 2036, he said, was harsh. People lived in small communities, grew food by hand, and technology, though it existed, was limited. He called it a post-nuclear world. But Titor didn't just scare people, he gave specific dates and events. He predicted that in 2001 the US would discover mad cow disease, and that the 2004 Olympic Games would be the last for many years because of the coming war. His messages appeared from November 2000 to March 2001 on the Time Travel Institute and Art Bell's Post to Post forums. Titor claimed he was born in 1998 in Tampa, Florida, and in 2036 he was 38 years old. He served in a military unit that sent him back in time. Why 2000? Because he made a stop to visit his family in 1975 and then got stuck in the early 2000s to complete his mission. He explained that the old IBM computer had a secret function for debugging ancient programming languages like APL and BASIC, vital for the future. In March 2001, he posted his final message, "Mission complete. I'm going home." Then he vanished from the internet. At first, his story seemed too wild to be true, but the details, diagrams, photos, and technical terms made people doubt. In 2003, interest in Titor flared up again when his posts spread across sites like Above Top Secret and anomalies.net. The radio show Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell added fuel by discussing his predictions. People searched for traces of his words in reality. Yes, in 2003, the US really did find a case of mad cow disease, but that was too general a coincidence. A civil war in 2004? Nothing of the sort happened. The elections caused arguments, but the country remained intact. The 2004 Athens Olympics took place as scheduled, along with all the ones that followed. The nuclear strike in 2017? The world breathed a sigh of relief when the date passed without catastrophe. By the 2010s, it became clear Titor was wrong. None of his key predictions came true. Researchers dug deeper. In 2003, a Florida lawyer named Larry Haber registered the John Titor Foundation, and his brother, an engineer named Maury Haber, suspiciously knew the exact details of the IBM computer's debugging function that Titor had mentioned. This gave birth to the theory that the Haber brothers were behind the hoax. Others pointed to science fiction writer Robert Todd Carroll, or even a collective effort by several enthusiasts. In 2009, Italian director Luca Casal's documentary, John Titor, Time Traveler, tried to find the truth, but also failed to give a final answer. Today, John Titor is considered one of the most famous internet hoaxes, inspired by science fiction, with photos that were most likely staged. Yet, even years later, Titor remains a legend. In 2017, when nuclear war never happened, fans still argued. Maybe he was from a different timeline, or his warnings changed the future. Reality is simpler. It was a game that captured the minds of millions. John Titor disappeared in 2001, leaving behind not a time machine but a mirror of our hopes and fears of the unknown. New York, January 2003. The financial world is buzzing. On Wall Street appears a man whose success seems impossible. Andrew Carlson, a 40-year-old with no past, invests just $800 in stocks and in 2 weeks turns them into $350 million. He makes 126 risky trades, every single one a winner. Federal agents from the Securities and Exchange Commission cannot believe their eyes. Such luck does not exist. They arrest him on January 28th, suspecting insider trading. But what happens next turns everything upside down. Carlson does not deny the charges. He gives a 4-hour confession, claiming he arrived from the year 2256 on a time machine, armed with knowledge of the future market. The story sounds like pure fantasy. He tells investigators that in his era, stock rises and falls are common knowledge, like a school textbook. He admits it was too tempting to resist. I wanted to make it look natural, losing here and there so I wouldn't seem suspicious, but I got carried away. To prove his words, he offers a deal. He will reveal the location of Osama bin Laden and a cure for AIDS in exchange for freedom and return to his time machine. He refuses to say where it is hidden, fearing the technology would fall into the wrong hands. The SEC agents are in shock. One of them states, "We don't believe this guy. He's either crazy or a pathological liar." But how do you explain his success? This is not luck. This is something bigger. Even more mystery is added by the fact that no traces of Andrew Carlson's existence can be found before December 2002. The news explodes in the media. On February 25, 2003, the tabloid Weekly World News publishes an article titled, "Time Traveler Caught Insider Trading." The story is reprinted by Yahoo News in the entertainment section on March 19th and soon picked up by magazines and newspapers worldwide. Carlson becomes a sensation. On March 29th, a mysterious benefactor posts a $1 million bail for him. On April 3rd, he is supposed to appear at a hearing. But on that day, Andrew Carlson vanishes without a trace, as if he dissolved into thin air. Weekly World News later writes, "Time traveler escapes. Rumors that he returned to the future only gain momentum. The internet catches fire with theories. Some call him a genius, others a fraud. Some even compare him to Biff from Back to the Future, who got rich knowing sports results. But skeptics dig deeper. The SEC officially denies any such case exists. No arrest records, no trace of a man named Andrew Carlson. Wall Street is silent. Not a single trader confirms the events. And then the key emerges. Weekly World News is not a serious publication but a satirical tabloid famous for invented stories about aliens, Batman living in a cave, and other fantasies. Their policy states that articles may be fictional and names random. The reader is supposed to suspend disbelief for entertainment. The debunking comes quickly. Snopes confirms. The Carlson story is pure fiction born in the editorial office of Weekly World News. No documents, no witnesses, number $350 million. Even the photos of Carlson in different articles are different people. So why did the story go viral? Yahoo News posted it without clearly labeling it as fiction, giving it the appearance of truth. And the idea of a time traveler getting rich was simply too tempting to forget. In 2003, the internet was still young and rumors loved mysteries. No time machines.
No millions.
Just talented fiction that fooled thousands. Yet even years later, some still whisper, what if he really was real and simply hid well? Wall Street keeps buzzing, and Carlson's story remains in the shadows. A reminder that truth is often more boring than fantasy. But fantasy always finds its audience. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is clear. Time remains humanity's greatest mystery. We fear it, study it, try to trap it, but it always slips away. And what if one day we really do find a door through the centuries? Who knows? Maybe one of us has already opened it. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and write in the comments. What do you think? Do you believe it is possible to jump through time? Or is it all just a beautiful myth?